Good afternoon, folks. I hope your weekend was a good one. I wanted to send another video for this month's Client Connection to sort of keep you in the loop again on some things that we've got going on here in the office and things that you need to be aware of. So first of all, on Wednesday, August the 23rd, I'm going to be hosting a workshop here in our training center called Getting Old Ain't for Sissies. Now, where did that name come from? Well, my parents say that to me all the time, and I've shared that with some of you guys in meetings before. So that's where the name came from. But anyway, so this workshop, we're going to be talking in detail about what you can do to be prepared for that when that time comes where you can no longer take care of yourself. If I call this a long-term care workshop, and I've done this in the past, not a whole lot of people would come. Why is that? Well, I think it's because most people don't think they're going to need any kind of long-term care in the future. So it's easy for us to think that this really only happens to other people. But I continue to see more and more people each and every year who wind up requiring some type of assistance for their day-to-day needs as they get older. And again, I'm not trying to wish any of you to get older quicker or poor health or any of that, but it happens. And I know a lot of you have gone through that this year, either personally or with a loved one, and it's just not a pleasant experience. And so, as you know, the financial consequence or the financial aspect of this can really be pretty devastating. So how do you prepare? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about at this workshop. So I'm going to go over 2 or 3 ways that you can be better prepared, and I'm also going to walk you through a couple of case studies that I think will be very helpful for you. So who should come to this? Well, I want people to come that are ready to address this issue and look seriously into putting something into place to protect your family from the negative financial consequences of a health event in the future. I mean, it would be great if we all aged gracefully and died in our sleep, but that doesn't happen a lot. That's ideal, but that doesn't happen as often as we like to think. So anyway, the workshop is going to be Wednesday, August the 23rd at 2 o'clock here in our office. It's going to last about an hour. So if you'd like to attend, you can of course call the office and speak with one of the ladies, and they will reserve your spot, or you can click the registration link in the email version of this newsletter. All right, turning a little bit to the buffer ETF strategy that I talked about in last month's email. And I know a lot of you have already taken advantage of this, especially now that markets are cooperating a little bit better than they have. I'm seeing more and more people willing to put money back into the stock market, but I know there are still some people that they're not 100% confident in the economy, the market, and the political environment. So this is a great strategy for those folks. And so in last month's video, I sort of walked through an illustration, had some graphs and charts on the screen of how it works. And so if you hadn't seen that, go back and watch that video. But just as a recap here, the buffer ETF works pretty much like this. You've got a 15% downside buffer from the stock market on market losses. Now this is based on the S&P 500. So if you put money in and the S&P 500 goes down the next year, you're not going to participate in the first 15% of losses. So if the market goes down 5% or 8%, 10% or 15%, by the end of the year, your account value will be at a 0% loss. And if it goes down 18%, of course, you would be down 3% because you're only participating in the first 15% of losses. But on the flip side, of course, if the S&P 500 goes up, you're only going to participate in the first 15% of the gain. And I think that's great. That's a lot of good upside with a lot of downside protection. And the best part of this, of course, is this is completely liquid. You're not bound by any kind of contract, so we can change the game at any time and switch gears and go to a different strategy. So for those of you who have cash that may not be invested right now, or maybe a CD or even an old 401k or an IRA, this is a great option for those funds. And I think since last month, we've probably added maybe $3 or $4 million in this strategy. And I think that's because people really like the downside protection. So if this is something that you're interested in, please call the office and we'll set up a call for you and I to discuss how this can work for you. All right, we're now less than a month away from our transition from TD Ameritrade over to Schwab, and over this past weekend, we got our very first mail, and I meant to bring it so I could show it to you, but I got about 4 or 5 pieces of mail from Schwab addressed to everybody in my household. So I also know that a lot of you over the last couple of weeks have told me that you've started getting a lot of mail again from TD Ameritrade. I've seen the same thing. It seems like their mail from TD Ameritrade has picked up a little bit more, even though I re-enrolled for electronic communications a few months ago. But soon we're not going to get any more mail from TD Ameritrade, and hopefully Schwab is going to be better about honoring electronic communication preferences. So we'll sort of figure that out as it happens. So, excuse me. As a reminder, the transition from TD to Schwab is going to happen over Labor Day weekend. So sometime around midnight on that Friday afternoon or that Friday night, you're not going to be able to access your accounts online. And so they'll work over it all over the weekend, make the transition, and they're scheduled to come back online Tuesday morning under the Schwab name. Now, sometime after that, once they've worked out any of the kinks and those kind of things, and we know the website is functional and everybody understands that, we're going to provide some further instructions on how you can enroll in electronic communications from Schwab to cut down on all of the mail if you're not already enrolled. All right, so about 2 weeks ago, I recorded a podcast on titled really The 5 Ways to Resolve Financial Tension Between Couples. That first episode posted on July the 27th. And for the first week, that was one of the most downloaded shows that we've ever had in the first week that the show had been posted. So we got a lot of great feedback from clients and people that aren't clients that just listen to the podcast. That we decided to follow up with that with a bonus episode. And so I added another episode with 5 more tips on the same subject. So why did I do a podcast on this subject matter? Well, it's pretty simple. Most marriages that end in divorce usually wind up being because of money and money fights. And so I think this is a very relevant topic. And so this is really just sort of my way of helping marriages stay strong. So speaking of marital tension, so as I wrap up today, I really want to give a big shout out to a client of mine, Bobby Underwood. I know a lot of you may know Bobby. And I'll tell this full story in an upcoming episode of the podcast, because I think the subject matter could be very helpful for people in the future that might be in the same boat that I was in, and I want you to learn from my mistakes. And so long story short is Bobby was instrumental in helping me renew passports for my kids in 7 hours. So in one day we got new passports and we were able to go on our family vacation. It's a crazy story, and he helped me save not only the family vacation, but probably my marriage as well, because Pam was not thrilled with how this all happened. But anyway, happy ending. That episode is going to be upcoming. We'll post it in a couple of weeks. Also, in a few more weeks after that, I'm going to we'll have another episode with my personal CPA. We'll talk some year-end tax planning tips. And I'm also going to have a couple of episodes with a few more of our clients. So if you're not listening to the podcast just yet, just search My Retirement Clarity on any of the podcast platforms, whether it's Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever, and you'll find it. It's really a lot of great information. So anyway, that's it for today. If you need anything from our office, please feel free to reach out to us. That's what we're here for. We're here for you. And one more thing, I guess before I go, I almost forgot about this. We've had a lot of really great referrals over the last 4 or 5 weeks or so, and we really, really do appreciate you not keeping us a secret from folks that you know who might benefit from some of the things that we do for you. So thanks again for sticking around to the end of the video, and we'll catch you next time. Take care.